Hello everyone, I'm Riaz Jamadar from All India Shri Shivaji Memorial Society's Institute of Information Technology, Department of Information Technology. So in this session we'll be discussing about servlet basics. So what servlet is, we have seen in our last video. Servlet is a Java based program written for server side programming that is going to generate dynamic content for your web based application. So how it works, what is its architecture, we'll first understand. So servlet, it makes use of HTTP protocol. It works on HTTP protocol. That's why it has uh, interfaces like HTTP request, HTTP response. So from the diagram it is clear that we have a web browser. In web browser, through the web browser, the HTTP request will be sent to HTTP server. Say this is your browser. So this is your browser. From browser, the request will go to server. Then as per the request, actually how we send the request, through some URL we load the servlet, we request the servlet. So the HTTP request will be converted to your loading. So it corresponds to some servlet URL, and that servlet will be loaded. That's what servlet program. Web server will load the servlet program, and that servlet program, when it gets compiled and executed, it produces results from the database. Because the server is connected to the database, the servlet program fetches the data from database, and that data will be again collected in this web server. The web server, what it does, it converts that results into response, HTTP response. So it embeds the results in HTTP response, and that will be sent to the browser. This is how you will be able to access the database connected to some server. That is what the advantage of servlet. That's why we write servlets. Servlets are Java based programs. They are written to generate dynamic content from database. So any web server you can access with the help of some URL. The URL will load some servlet, and that servlet will be processed, and as in that one we have that database connectivity sort of stuff that will enable you to access the database, and then those results, processed results, will be collected by the server. They will be wrapped up as a server HTTP response and sent back to this web server. So we'll see the steps now, how actually it gets executed. The first step is what the client sends the request to the browser web server. The client here we mean web browser. The browser sends the request to the web server. The web server receives the request. Then the web server passes the request to the corresponding servlet. So the server passes the request, we mean here web server identifies that which servlet I am supposed to load and execute. As per that, it identifies a requested servlet from memory, loads into memory, and then that will be executed. So the servlet processes the request and generates the response in the form of output. So that servlet gets executed and it accesses the database. As per the request, it fetches the data and produces the output. That output will be wrapped up into the response, HTTP response. The servlet sends the response back to the server. Now the job is over, because you got the response. The client will receive the response, that is the browser will receive the response. The web server sends the response back to the client. Client we mean here browser, web browser, and the client browser displays it on the screen. As per your request, as per your coding, it will display the result. Hope you understood how actually the servlet is able to fetch or generate dynamic content for any web-based application. So normally when you develop web-based application, you are supposed to incorporate servlets in it. So how a servlet works, that idea you should have clearly so that you can write correct and right programs for the application. Hope you enjoyed the session. In the next session, we'll see more about servlet interfaces. Thanks for watching.